This is Atacama. Dryness so extreme it feels extraterrestrial. Hard light makes every texture look carved. Salt polygons appear like engineered tiles.
Turquoise lagoons sit where you expect nothing alive.
Wind turns dunes into frozen waves.
Geyser steam rises at dawn, then thins into blue.
Volcano silhouettes anchor the high plateau. At night, the sky becomes the main landscape. No music, only a calm voice, and the desert's quiet.
Because silence is the Atacama's real soundtrack.
We'll move from salt flats to moon valleys. Then up to high lagoons under the Andes.
Will keep wildlife distant and undisturbed. We'll keep footing safe on marked viewpoints.
The story here is moisture, mostly its absence. Dry air preserves shapes like a museum.
Evaporation draws lines you can actually read.
Dust and salt rewrite the surface daily.
Watch how shadows become the only relief.
Watch how color survives in tiny patches.
By the end, you'll feel the scale of emptiness.
The clarity of a sky without haze.
Atacama is harsh, but unbelievably precise.
Let's start with the map and the climb.
Zoom to northern Chile, where the Andes meet a coastal desert strip. Cold ocean currents limit moisture reaching the land.
Mountains block humid air from the east.
The result is hyper-arid ground and clear skies.
San Pedro sits as a small hub in big emptiness.
From here, tracks lead to salt flats and valleys.
Altitude rises fast. Thin air changes pacing.
Sunlight feels sharper at elevation.
Water becomes a schedule, not a comfort. Shade becomes a plan, not a luxury. Dry riverbeds show where storms rarely run.
Alluvial fans spread like stone deltas.
Its salt forms as brines evaporate over time.
Those salts crack into polygons as they dry. Wind sculpts dunes and undercuts ridges. Rock varnish darkens surfaces slowly, like a stain. Volcanoes watch over the plateau like silent markers.
Lagoons appear where groundwater or snowmelt collects.
Their colors come from minerals and light angles.
Flamingos feed in shallow margins, always from distance.
Geysers vent where heat meets groundwater.
We observe safely. No close approaches to steam fields.
The Atacama hosts telescopes for one reason: clarity.
Dry air means less distortion and less haze.
So the night sky becomes unbelievably sharp.
We'll use wide shots for scale and macro for texture. Because this place is about surfaces and thresholds.
Hot day, cold night, constant stress on rock. That stress breaks stone into sand and dust.
Then wind sorts grains like a conveyor belt.
The desert looks still, but it's always working.
Now we'll read the mechanics of dryness.
Then the salt flats and lagoons. Then Valle de la Luna and dune lines. After that, life and observatories at the edge.
Finally, stars, the clearest ceiling on Earth.
By noon, high-altitude rock. Mirage shimmer bends distant ridges. Up close, hyper-dry surface. Evaporation rings mark old shorelines.
In this frame, salt white flat. Macro grains show sorting by wind.
Next, glare bright flat. Day heat and night cold stress everything.
From above, glare bright salt. Stone fans spread like dried rivers.
Up close, stone-hard ridge, stone fans spread like dried rivers.
Now, moon-like ridge. Day heat and night cold stress everything.
From above, when drawn flat, wide views prove how small people are.
In this frame, moon-like air. Rock varnish darken exposed faces. Notice, stone-hard flat. Evaporation rings mark old shorelines. Now, glare bright valley. Salt cracks organize into polygons. From above, stone-hard sand. Evaporation rings mark old shorelines. Notice, shadowed rock. Moisture is absent. Textures stay sharp. At dawn, salt white surface. Evaporation rings mark old shorelines.
Now, glare bright valley. Hard shadows reveal micro relief.
In this frame, salt white rock. hard shadows reveal micro-relief. Here, stone-hard surface. Telephoto compresses ridges into layers.
Up close, stone-hard rock. Wide views prove how small people are.
In this frame, high-altitude air. The horizon stays brutally clean. Next, sun-hammered sand. Stone fans spread like dried rivers.
Next, hyper-dry valley. Wide views prove how small an East Asian female person is.
Now, sun-hammered flat. Telephoto compresses ridges into layers. Notice, sun-hammered sand. The horizon stays brutally clean. By new, sun-hammered ridge, hard shadows reveal micro-relief. Look for moon-like salt. Hard shadows reveal micro-relief.
Up close, hyper-dry air, dust skims low in brief gusts.
Next, sun-hammered surface. Mirage shimmer bends distant ridges.
Notice, hyper-dry air. Macrograins show sorting by wind.
At dawn, stone-hard salt cracks organize into polygons.
From above, glare-bright air. The horizon stays brutally clean.
Now, shadowed sand. Mirage shimmer bends distant ridges.
Here, sun-hammered ridge. Moisture is absent. Textures stay sharp. Notice, shadowed surface. Wide views prove how small people are. Up close, sun-hammered surface. Mirage shimmer bends distant ridges.
At dawn, sun-hammered valley. Dunes hold ripples like frozen water.
From above, wind-drawn flat. Dunes hold ripples like frozen water. Notice, shadowed sand. The horizon stays brutally clean. By noon, shadowed sand, salt cracks organize into polygons.
By noon, moon-like ridge, the horizon stays brutally clean.
By noon, shadowed salt, thin air makes light feel harsher.
In this frame, sun-hammered surface, telephoto compresses ridges into layers. Up close, hyper-dry sand. Mirage shimmer bends distant ridges. In this frame, hyper-dry valley. Evaporation rings mark old shorelines.
Here, salt white flat. The horizon stays brutally clean.
Next, hyper-dry flat. Rock varnish darkens exposed faces. From above, moon-like valley. Dust skims low in brief gusts.
In this frame, dusty rock. Evaporation rings mark old shorelines.
Next, moon-like rock. Evaporation rings mark old shorelines. Notice, salt white flat. Moisture is absent. Textures stay sharp. From above, dusty sand. Stone fans spread like dried rivers. Up close, stone-hard flat. Dust skims low in brief gusts. Now, dusty air. Rock varnish darkens exposed faces. In this frame, high-altitude salt. Salt cracks organize into polygons. Next, hyper-dry surface. Hard shadows reveal micro-relief.
By noon, moon-like rock. Stone fans spread like dried rivers. At dawn, stone-hard air. Dunes hold ripples like frozen water. Next, high-altitude air. Day heat and night cold stress everything. Up close, dusty rock. Dust skims low in brief gusts.
Up close, dusty valley. Macro grains show sorting by wind. Notice, sun-hammered ridge. Telephoto compresses ridges into layers.
Now, salt and lagoons. Salt crystals glitter at the shoreline edge. Now, salt and lagoons. Thin clouds briefly soften the glare.
Next, salt and lagoons. Wind smooths the water, then wrinkles it.
At dawn, salt and lagoons. Wind smooths the water, then wrinkles it. By noon, salt and lagoons. Salar polygons stretch like a white city grid.
Here, salt and lagoons. Telephoto captures wildlife without disturbance.
At dawn, salt and lagoons. Telephoto captures wildlife without disturbance.
Next, salt and lagoons. Flamingos stand as tiny pink commas, far away.
At dawn, salt and lagoons. White banks meet dark mud in sharp lines.
Here, salt and lagoons. White banks meet dark mud in sharp lines.
From above, salt and lagoons. Macro shows salt needles at the waterline.
From above, salt and lagoons. Salt crystals glitter at the shoreline edge. Notice, salt and lagoons. Thin clouds briefly soften the glare. Notice, salt and lagoons. White banks meet dark mud in sharp lines.
From above, salt and lagoons. A wide pullback reveals the basin scale.
Here, salt and lagoons. Lagoon water turns turquoise against brown rock.
In this frame, salt and lagoons, a wide pullback reveals the basin scale. By noon, salt and lagoons. White banks meet dark mud in sharp lines.
Here, salt and lagoons. A wide pullback reveals the basin scale.
Here, salt and lagoons. Reflections, double volcano silhouettes perfectly.
By noon, salt and lagoons. Thin clouds briefly soften the glare.
By noon, salt and lagoons. Brine leaves bright rings after retreating.
Up close, salt and lagoons. Thin clouds briefly soften the glare.
Here, salt and lagoons. Salt crystals glitter at the shoreline edge.
Notice, salt and lagoons. Salt crystals glitter at the shoreline edge.
From above, salt and lagoons. Thin clouds briefly soften the glare.
From above, salt and lagoons. Lagoon water turns turquoise against brown rock.
In this frame, salt and lagoons. Telephoto captures wildlife without disturbance.
Notice, salt and lagoons. Wind smooths the water, then wrinkles it.
Now, salt and lagoons. White banks meet dark mud in sharp lines.
Next, salt and lagoons. Telephoto captures wildlife without disturbance.
Next, salt and lagoons. Salt crystals glitter at the shoreline edge. Next, salt and lagoons. Brine leaves bright rings after retreating. At dawn, salt and lagoons. Chilean flamingos stand as tiny pink commas, far away. At dawn, salt and lagoons. Lagoon water turns turquoise against brown rock. Now, salt and lagoons. A wide pullback reveals the basin scale.
Up close, salt and lagoons. Lagoon water turns turquoise against brown rock.
Look for salt and lagoons. Flamingos stand as tiny pink commas, far away. Now, salt and lagoons. Macro shows salt needles at the waterline.
In this frame, salt and lagoons. Reflections double volcano silhouettes perfectly.
Next, salt and lagoons. Salar polygons stretch like a white city grid.
Up close, salt and lagoons. Wind smooths the water, then wrinkles it.
By noon, salt and lagoons. Telephoto captures wildlife without disturbance.
From above, salt and lagoons. Flamingos stand as tiny pink commas, far away. In this frame, salt and lagoons. Salar polygons stretch like a white city grid. Here, salt and lagoons. Flamingos stand as tiny pink commas, far away. At dawn, salt and lagoons. Salt crystals glitter at the shoreline edge.
Next, salt and lagoons. Reflections double volcano silhouettes perfectly.
Now, salt and lagoons. Andean flamingos stand as tiny pink commas, far away. Look for salt and lagoons. Brine leaves bright rings after retreating. Here, salt and lagoons. Wind smooths the water, then wrinkles it.
Chills. In this frame, salt and lagoons, macro, shows salt needles at the waterline.
At dawn, salt and lagoons. Brine leaves bright rings after retreating.
Up close, salt and lagoons. Telephoto captures a flock of puna plovers without disturbance.
Now, Moon Valley. Shadows slide quickly as the sun drops.
Notice, Moon Valley, a safe viewpoint frames the amphitheater valley.
From above, Moon Valley. Salt crust stripes ruck along canyon walls. From above, Moon Valley. Macro sand grains sparkle, then disappear.
Now, Moon Valley. A drone pullback shows the moon-like geometry.
Now, Moon Valley. Macro sand grains sparkle, then disappear. From above, Moon Valley. Dune crests draw perfect curves in low sun. Now, Moon Valley. Footprints soften as wind brushes them. At dawn, Moon Valley. Sunset turns cliffs red, then purple.
Look for Moon Valley. Valle de la Luna ridges look like folded rock paper.
Up close, Moon Valley. The valley feels silent, even when wind moves.
Up close, Moon Valley. Footprints soften as wind brushes them. From above, Moon Valley. The valley feels silent, even when wind moves. Look for Moon Valley. Shadows slide quickly as the sun drops.
Notice, Moon Valley. Valle de la Luna ridges look like folded rock paper.
Next, Moon Valley. Valle de la Luna ridges look like folded rock paper. At dawn, Moon Valley. Footprints soften as wind brushes them. By noon, Moon Valley. A drone pullback shows the moon-like geometry. Up close, Moon Valley. Dune crests draw perfect curves in low sun. Now, Moon Valley, Valle de la Luna ridges look like folded rock paper.
Up close, Moon Valley. A drone pullback shows the moon-like geometry. Next, Moon Valley. Salt crust stripes run along canyon walls.
By noon, Moon Valley. Telephoto stacks ridgelines like cardboard layers. In this frame, Moon Valley. Sunset turns cliffs red, then purple. By noon, Moon Valley. Sunset turns cliffs red, then purple. Look for Moon Valley. Dune crests draw perfect curves in low sun.
Notice, Moon Valley. Wind ripples make sand resemble corduroy.
Here, Moon Valley. Salt crust stripes move along canyon walls.
Up close, Moon Valley. A safe viewpoint frames the amphitheater valley.
Now, Moon Valley. Wind ripples make sand resemble corduroy.
Next, Moon Valley. Macro sand grains sparkle, then disappear.
In this frame, Moon Valley. Shadows slide quickly as the sun drops.
Here, Moon Valley. Macro sand grains sparkle, then disappear.
Up close, Moon Valley. Telephoto stacks ridgelines like cardboard layers.
Notice, Moon Valley. Dune crests draw perfect curves in low sun.
Notice, Moon Valley. Telephoto stacks ridgelines like cardboard layers.
Next, Moon Valley. Footprints soften as wind brushes them.
Here, Moon Valley, the valley feels silent, even when wind moves. At dawn, Moon Valley, the valley feels silent, even when wind moves.
Up close, Moon Valley. Valle de la Luna ridges look like folded rock paper.
From above, Moon Valley. A drone pullback shows the moon-like geometry.
Next, Moon Valley. Sunset turns cliffs red, then purple.
Here, Moon Valley, a safe viewpoint, frames the amphitheater valley. From above, Moon Valley, Valle de la Luna ridges look like folded rock paper. Notice, Moon Valley. The valley feels silent, even when wind moves. Next, Moon Valley. A drone pullback shows the moon-like geometry. In this frame, Moon Valley. Telephoto stacks ridgelines like cardboard layers.
In this frame, Moon Valley. A safe viewpoint frames the amphitheater valley.
Up close, Moon Valley. Salt crust stripes run along canyon walls.
By noon, Moon Valley. Salt crust stripes rue along canyon walls.
Here, Moon Valley. Shadows slide quickly as the sun drops. In this frame, Moon Valley. Footprints soften as wind brushes them. In this frame, Moon Valley, a drone pullback shows the moon-like geometry. Look for Moon Valley. Macro sand grains sparkle, then disappear.
At the edge, observatory domes wait like white shells.
Before dusk, coffee steam rises, then vanishes instantly.
At the edge, coffee steam rises, then vanishes instantly.
In thin air, small oases make green feel shocking. At the edge, layers go on as night temperature drops. In town, telescopes aim upward, silent and precise.
At the edge, tires follow tracks, then lose them.
Between drives, telescopes aim upward, silent and precise.
In town, tires follow tracks, then lose them.
In town, coffee steam rises, then vanishes instantly.
In thin air, we leave early to avoid brutal midday glare.
Before dusk, bottles are filled. Hydration stays deliberate.
Before dusk, dust coats everything within minutes.
At the edge, bottles are filled. Hydration stays deliberate. In town, routine replaces drama in extreme places.
In town, small oases make green feel shocking.
Between drives, headlamps stay low, faces remain unseen.
On the road, tires follow tracks, then lose them.
Before dusk, observatory domes wait like white shells.
In thin air, dust coats everything within minutes.
In thin air, bottles are filled. Hydration stays deliberate. At the edge, adobe walls hold cool shade briefly.
Before dusk, routine replaces drama in extreme places.
In thin air, adobe walls hold cool shade briefly. At the edge, routine replaces drama in extreme places.
Before dusk, layers go on as night temperature drops.
Before dusk, adobe walls hold cool shade briefly. On the road, dust coats everything within minutes.
Between drives, small oases make green feel shocking.
In town, bottles are filled. Hydration stays deliberate. Between drives, routine replaces drama in extreme places.
In town, layers go on as night temperature drops.
Before dusk, tires follow track, then lose them. On the road, observatory domes wait like white shells.
On the road, telescopes aim upward, silent and precise. In thin air, layers go on as night temperature drops.
In thin air, coffee steam rises, then vanishes instantly. Before dusk, headlamps stay low. Faces of the multinational crew remain unseen.
Before dusk, the telescopes aim upward, silent and precise.
On the road, bottles are filled. Hydration stays deliberate.
In thin air, observatory domes wait like white shells.
Between drives, dust coats everything within minutes. After dark, the Milky Way arches like a bright river. In moonlight, the Milky Way arches like a bright river.
Under stars, silhouettes lay distant, no faces shown.
In moonlight, smooth star motion shows Earth rotating quietly.
On the plateau, breath fog appears, then dissolves fast. Near camp, cold sand squeaks under careful steps.
Under stars, a tiny lamp anchors the foreground.
After dark, dawn returns as a thin blue edge.
Under stars, the sky feels closer in this dry air. Near camp, breath fog appears, then dissolves fast. On the plateau, the desert becomes a black stage for light. Under stars, the desert becomes a black stage for light.
Under stars, breath fog appears, then dissolves fast.
Tonight, silhouettes stay distant. No faces shown.
On the plateau, telescopes stand still against moving stars.
In moonlight, breath fog appears, then dissolves fast.
Tonight, the desert becomes a black stage for light.
On the plateau, moonlight reveals polygons on the salt.
Under stars, telescopes stand still against moving stars. Tonight, cold sand squeaks under careful steps.
On the plateau, a tiny lamp anchors the foreground.
In moonlight, the sky feels closer in this dry air.
After dark, a tiny lamp anchors the foreground.
After dark, breath fog appears, then dissolves fast.
After dark, smooth star motion shows Earth rotating quietly.
Tonight, moonlight reveals polygons on the salt.
Near camp, silhouettes of a young Asian male and an elderly Asian female stay distant, no faces shown.
On the plateau, the sky feels closer in this dry air.
Under stars, the Milky Way arches like a bright river.
Near camp, stars look sharper than you think possible.
On the plateau, Stars look sharper than you think possible.
Tonight, the Milky Way arches like a bright river.
After dark, telescopes stand still against moving stars.
In moonlight, a tiny lamp anchors the foreground.
Under stars, moonlight reveals polygons on the salt. Under stars, cold sand squeaks under careful steps. Atacama's lesson is how absence creates clarity. Dry air preserves textures like a photograph in stone. Salt flats turn evaporation into readable geometry.
Lagoons prove life can survive in tiny margins.
Moon Valley proves wind can sculpt like a chisel.
Day heat and night cold keep everything stressed.
Geysers remind you the planet is still warm underneath.
Observatories remind you the sky is part of this desert.
When stars move, the ground feels even stiller.
Wind erases prints, restoring the blank page.
People stay small. Scale stays honest.
The clearest views demand the harshest conditions.
If you want more extremes, follow this series.
Next, colder, higher, and more volatile landscapes.
Subscribe to Traveling Around the Earth.
Until next time, keep curiosity, keep respect. Atacama will linger as after images of light.
And as silence you can almost hear.
We leave the desert, but it keeps its precision. The horizon stays clean in your memory.
A final look at salt, rock, and sky.
Then we pull back into emptiness again.
Harsh places teach calm attention. That's the Atacama's gift.